fair enough. My phone, that's what I'm forgetting.
Oh. How long do you record for?
We usually try and get it as close to 45 minutes as possible, but sometimes we have a tendency to ramble on.
Yeah,
right.
That's cool.
Or if it's a movie she doesn't like, then it's like, oh, I guess we're getting to deep cut recommendations 25 minutes in.
Okay, that's probably true. And yet, the fucking Transformers episode was an hour and 10 minutes long.
That's a pretty
It's
deep movie, though. Like,
yeah,
there's a lot to talk about.
There was passionate debate.
Yeah.
There was.
Okay, sorry.
The thing did you see we got another review like a month ago?
I did not see that.
Yeah.
Was it nice?
Yeah, but I think it's from the UK.
Oh, well, that's almost definitely not someone who actually.
So they
just
wrote it
knows
on the
us.
other side. Of the
they mentioned
keyboard.
that they were hoping the podcast would be more comedic. But they enjoy the facts as well.
Wait, what? Like they don't.
Like they were expecting
Is that a dig
100%.
directly at me?
So it's like, okay, you've got how did this get made, which is 100% comedy,
Right.
And you've got the Next Real podcast, which is like 100% information.
film.
Apparently, we're 50-50.
We are 50-50, but that is the goal. I mean,
Yes.
You're a filmmaker,
Right.
so Buck, we're really going to lean on you for the comedy. This
Yeah,
time.
well, hey, it's a goofy movie.
They
I'm a
said
goofy person.
hopefully they have more funny guests.
Oh, nice.
Not that the guests are not funny, but they would bring more funny.
Okay,
You want me to find the
I
review?
do. I want to hear specifically what's been said.
I know, right?
Because if they were like, I wish it was a little bit more filmmaker-y, then I feel like that would be
Damn it!
more relevant to you. We don't like the girl. That's what we're saying.
Yeah.
I know, right?
Likes it. He likes it.
He likes it.
This comes from wait a minute. This is 3 days ago
Okay.
from Sweden. I'll check it.
They
That's not their name. That's where the origin.
They love comedy in Sweden.
Oh, and then this lists like the. Okay, so in May, Love It definitely deserves more recognition. That one was from Great Britain.
Oh, thank you, Great Britain. You're right, we do.
What a wide-reaching audience.
Yeah. Okay, so 5 stars, professional and interesting. I was looking
Professional
for
and interesting, ... not funny.
Yeah, right.
I was looking for a Flophouse, but with 80s movies. So Flophouse must be a podcast because
Okay.
it's capitalized. And found most excellent. There is one comedian in this team, and that makes it really hard to make jokes. So what we get is more of an in-depth discussion and way more factoids. This makes for an excellent listening, but maybe season 2 could be about more bad, they're good movies.
Yeah, but people got that covered.
Right.
People have that covered.
With an extra comedian thrown in for some tag team chuckles. Also, would have personally liked to see aliens included as essential 80s, but maybe that's just me.
We talked
can
about
get
doing
there.
80. We actually scheduled aliens and then had to reschedule it.
Yeah,
But it's on the agenda.
it's on the agenda.
Yeah.
All right. It's all right. But we got our 5 stars, so...
That's all that matters.
And it's from Sweden. That's exciting.
Yeah. Okay.
I'll try to be a lot more
We
funny.
can hear him in Sweden. Just
I'll be a lot
really
more
getting
funny.
excited.
All of this is going to be included. But the official beginning is hello. Welcome to the Most Excellent 80s Movies podcast. It's the podcast where a filmmaker, a comedic filmmaker, but not specifically a comedian, and a comedian who's an improviser, and a comedian who's a comedian.
Yeah.
Yeah? I don't know. What would you say?
I think we watch the movies from the 80s, from
We
our
do.
childhood, with modern eyes.
Yeah. We look
I've
back.
listened to the one episode of the podcast.
Yeah. So, yeah, we're taking a look back at the 80s movies. We're looking with our 2019 eyes. And
It's
we're
going to be really awkward in 2020.
It will be. It will be.
Can't change the script.
But so, what we watched today was The Naked Gun from the Files of Police Squad, a movie selection from 1988. But before I play the trailer, you will be hearing the sounds of improv happening. There's nothing we can do about that.
Yeah, we're improv adjacent. There's a workshop going on in the main room.
There is, yes, and they are having a great time, I would just like to say. and so they're going to be loud. Anyway, Naked Gun, 1988.
In this city, there's crime on every street. But one man has seen enough. He's Lieutenant Frank Drebin.
Whatever scum did this, not one man on this force will rest for 1 minute until he's behind bars. Now let's grab a bite to eat.
He's a good cop who's having a bad day. His best friend
Everyone should have a friend like you.
is in a coma.
As soon as Nordberg is better, he's welcome back at Police Squad. But I wouldn't wait until the last minute to fill out those organ donor cards.
His girlfriend asked him to look her up.
Nice beaver.
Thank you. I just had it stuffed.
Let me help you with that.
And his city is in the hands of a master criminal with a sinister plan.
I must kill the queen.
How can any police story contain this much action? This much romance?
I like cops.
Or this much baseball? Starring Leslie Nielsen, a cop who's always on the alert. Mikhail Gorbachev.
I knew it.
Queen Elizabeth, everyone's favorite queen. Priscilla Presley, a woman who really cooks.
How hot and wet do you like it?
Ricardo Montalban.
Frank.
You're both right.
George Kennedy, the partner with an appetite for danger. O.J. Simpson, as you've never seen him before. And Reggie Jackson in his first dramatic role. In a movie so big, it had to be filmed in color. The Naked Gun, from the files of Police Squad.
See you then.
Hilarious. Bravo.
Hilarious.
Bravo.
I will say I don't think I've giggled quite so much during a trailer in any of the other movies
Yeah.
that we've done.
Yeah, I'm gonna cheat and say this movie held up better than I expected.
Really? Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely. It holds up. Yeah.
Yeah.
I agree. I totally agree. So we're done. Goodbye, everybody.
Yeah. You know, honestly, I knew it would, though, because since it came out, I've not gone more than like 3 months without watching it. I don't think
Nice.
it's hugely influential in my life.
Well, that voice that you're hearing is our guest for tonight. That is Mr. Buck Newman.
Yeah, hey, what's up, everybody?
Buck, you're a stand-up comedian, but you also work in many capacities with the Big Pine Comedy Festival.
Yep. Comedy producer and just general comedian, I guess. I don't limit myself only to stand-up, so.
Oh, good.
Yeah, I'm more like a broad stroke kind of guy.
Yeah. We all contain multitudes.
Right,
that's what's
right.
important. You also produce the Comedy and
Yes.
which is a super cool, like, improvised role play game.
Oh, that's great.
Yes, coming to NCT now.
Coming to NCT.
Yes.
So it's by the time this comes out, it will have already happened. But it's going to be once a month here at
Ooh,
NCT.
in the future?
Yes.
Oh, yeah, people's minds will have been blown by the time this makes it out, yeah.
Exactly. Would you sometimes perform in that as well?
Actually, yeah, I'll be on cast at NCT now. We have
Yay.
Daryl, who is picking up sound effects, and so now I get to step out of the sound booth and kind of go live in this world that we've created.
Yes.
Yeah, I'll be up there playing with everybody.
So there are many opportunities for people to see you and see the things that you produce and create, including Big Pine, which we're going to be at.
I'm excited.
Good. That voice of the other person who's excited is, of course, filmmaker Nathan Blackwell.
Hi, everyone. Thanks for showing up.
Any filmmakery things happening lately?
In general or in the industry,
Both.
everyone's distressed, but
Okay.
for no particular reason.
All right, fair enough. And I'm Chrissy. I'm also a comedian of the improviser variety, although I also contain multitudes.
Right?
Let's not
Just
let's
be a
not put
comedian.
lid on
People
it.
laugh when we're around. That's
Yeah.
good.
But not as much in Sweden as they would like.
Well, that's why I'm here. you
That's
know?
exactly. We'll find the right mix someday. All right. Naked Gun, 1988. This was your pick, and clearly your favorite movie if you watch
my
it.
goodness,
If
yeah.
you watch it quarterly.
yeah. The quarterly viewing. Yeah, we just wrapped up the quarter 2 viewing a couple weeks ago. Yeah, this one of the first movies I really remember like stumbling upon as a kid was like Leslie Nielsen is probably like the most hilarious person
Yeah.
in the world. I wished he was my grandpa.
Oh, yeah.
And he could so easily be. Like,
Right. I mean, he lived in Scottsdale.
Yeah.
Did he really?
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
You
Yeah.
could have run into him any number of times.
Oh, yeah.
He was like a sort of a veteran of local commercials too.
Yeah.
Really?
For like insurance companies and stuff.
And he
Yeah.
also
know
did
that.
like pool safety videos as well. So I worked at like 15 years ago. I worked at a TV station, and we aired some of the outtakes. Or it was like the end of a pool safety special or whatever like that, and they aired all these outtakes at the roll of the credits, and he had this one great thing where he just improv'd, and he was like, I want what everyone wants, safety for their children. If I had a second pick, I'd go with a gun that shoots down helicopters.
Yeah, so he's sort of a local legend and hero as well.
That's awesome. I grew up in Ohio, so I had no idea that I could have run into Leslie Nielsen.
Yeah, you don't have any Leslie Nielsen in Ohio.
No,
I don't know
we
who you
didn't.
got, but it's probably a serial killer or
Yeah,
not.
a couple guys named Leslie, but they were not funny.
And we did Airplane. In fact, it was the first, wasn't it?
Yeah.
The first movie that we did
Inaugural.
on
Yeah,
the podcast.
right.
We did Airplane. And I love Leslie Nielsen in that as well because he's really, the whole time, less so in this than in Airplane, but like he's playing it so...
so straight.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
So and
He's
then,
acting.
Yeah.
and I feel like that's why this works, because you've got Leslie Nielsen and then our villain Ricardo Montalban. They're playing it so straight, and they're not winking to the camera, which I feel kind of happens later down the line
Yeah.
in terms of the later movies. But that I feel like is the greatest joy, is when everyone is so serious and then ridiculous stuff happens.
Yes.
Yeah, you have to catch it. It's like you're uncovering the joke.
Right.
And there's a joke everywhere in this movie.
There's more
it's
than
like
one.
a machine gun.
Yeah.
There's layers upon layers upon layers. Like, you have to look at this movie with your
Yeah.
face, which I am apt to not do, especially if I've seen the movie a bunch of
Right.
times. Like, I'm a fold laundry.
Yeah,
like,
right.
And I definitely prefer this. There is, I mean, it's the same people,
Yeah.
from Airplane, but it's definitely it's a little different. It's not the same exact style. It's like, just thinking about it, like Airplane was a lot more of these kind of machine gun gags and stunts and things like that. And this, each scene is kind of one central gag. There's like little bits in it little bits and moments, but they're kind of like in each scene in The Naked Gun, they're kind of developing and pushing one big gag. It's almost like each scene is like a short film.
like its own sketch.
Right,
almost.
it's not as random as Airplane, to where it's like they would cut to someone like someone cooking a chicken in the bathroom or whatever, just total random stuff. They're pushing and developing gags in this a lot more. Like each scene cut is like, okay, so what's going to be the next gag?
Yeah, but there's stuff happening with the dialogue. There's stuff happening visually. There's stuff that it keeps getting
the
set up and
opening
paid
scene
off.
in it when Nordberg is just investigating the boat, like that gag just built for 5 minutes.
Yeah, absolutely. They keep going, and it comes all the way around, and they keep going again.
Yep.
Yeah, and he goes and he kicks in the door. And
Yeah,
then his
I
foot
love
sticks
that.
through it, and all the bad guys are onto him.
My favorite part, so he's getting hurt and he's stumbling around, and I
Yeah.
love that he puts his hand on wet paint. And he's like,
Yeah.
"Oh,
And it is it's a little bit jarring to see O.J. Simpson in a movie. It just
Oh
is.
yeah, that part did not hold up with 2019 eyes for sure. Absolutely not.
But what makes it sort of okay is that he spends no minute of this movie not being critically injured.
Yes, he really takes a beating. Leans into the hot stove, and the cake comes out of nowhere.
Yeah.
It's like,
Everything bad happens to
Oh,
him.
man.
So that I feel like makes it okay to like enjoy this and just be like, yeah, that's what's happening. I'm okay with what's happening to OJ. But like speaking of the like acting of the movie, like everybody in this movie mostly is like a really good actor. Like I don't think OJ is a good actor.
Yeah.
But George Kennedy is
Right.
in this movie.
Yeah, Ricardo Montalban, Leslie Nielsen. You've got these really solid people who don't do comedy,
Right.
you know, and are bringing like this gravity to it.
No, keep going. You're fine.
Okay.
Was that the end of the sentence?
No,
You don't just stop in the middle of
the end of the-
sentences.
it was a hand signal.
No, I know. Hold on.
Or just hyperlapse.
It'll be like.
Is it time lapse? You mean
Isn't that what I said?
hyperlapse?
Hyperlapse is that's like time lapse, but you get
It's
way
hyper?
more pictures. It's ludicrous lapse. That's what it is.
Oh, the plaid.
Yeah, you've gone to plaid on social media.
But it does go in hyperlapse. Like I think
It's
I
time
saw it.
lapse.
No, but it's called hyperlapse. I'm not making
It's
that up.
hyperlapse TM. Like, it's their trademark.
But it's way, way faster than normal time lapse. I feel like it's really fast.
Like there's like a
You can
regular
set
video
time lapse
fast.
to different speeds.
You can set hyperlapse to 30 frames per second.
Listen, filmmaker, if you would like to show me how to use my iPad properly,
All right.
I will yield to your expertise. Okay.
So with Airplane, they were kind of, you know, parodying like these ensemble, you know, serious movies, like, you know, these disaster films where everyone's stuck in a tower and it's it's like, oh look, there's Frank Sinatra, oh it's Paul Newman, you know. And then in this, they're really kind of... So this is based off of Police Squad, a TV show that they did for like 6 episodes. And it's... Which itself was kind of based off of like the procedural cop shows from like the 70s.
Right.
And so this is kind of an extension of that. It's kind of a movie version of a TV cop show from the 70s. And you get that kind of in its DNA. It's constantly kind of busting out of that, you know?
Yeah, and I kind of love how crazy it gets. Do you have, like, any favorite bits?
Well, yeah. I mean, honestly, every time the movie ends, I just stand up and shout bravo and clap profusely. Like, there's no bad part of this movie for me.
Do you do that for any movie?
Stand up and clap and say bravo?
I've done it for The Naked Gun and Pacific Rim 2 specifically. Yes, it was just so good. I was ready for the third one right away. But
I think I've clapped at the end of stuff like that I've seen at like Alamo or something that was like a replay.
right.
Like I think I clapped at the end when we went to see Princess Bride.
Oh, sure.
yeah, it's fun to do. You know,
is fun
especially
to
if there's
do.
other people around. They get into it.
You know what? The filmmakers appreciated that.
Yeah.
That's a good tip. Yeah, I think my favorite part. I don't know. Actually, so I kind of liked like all of the real subtle stuff. Like I look for that now because I've
Me
seen
too.
it so many times
the
that
dry stuff.
I'm trying to
Yeah.
find something I've never caught before. And probably I guess the most obvious joke that I really loved is how they would throw the bloopers up at that baseball game at the end. And it's like the 7th inning stretch, and they're like, oh my God, at the 7th inning stretch, they're going to kill the queen, and we got to delay it. And like just that whole thing of Frank is like impersonating the umpire, and he's like frisking people like on their way to the
Yeah.
bases. That baseball scene was just wall to wall hilarious. To me.
Yeah, I definitely love like the drier stuff, the like underplayed stuff, the things that kind of come out of character versus like the stuff that was in a lot more in Airplane, which is kind of like these weird, random, what if spoofy moments that we
Yeah.
think of as spoof movies. You know, like
I
there's
like
really just like there's like 3 types of like comedy that they're kind of going with, like because it's still kind of a shotgun, but there's kind of like genre convention comedy of stuff
yeah.
that we see like in like police movies, police TV shows,
And film noir
Right.
and, you know, any kind of drama, you know.
exactly.
I think those were my favorite moments too, is when he's having those noir monologues and
Yes.
just
Yeah.
the dialogue is
And
so
how did I
good.
even get here?
Yeah.
Yeah, in the Police Squad TV show, they would have that all the time, and we'd see like these feet moving as he's walking. We see a bit of that, and it's like, who are these feet? Whose feet are
Whose
these?
feet are these?
They're not my feet.
yeah.
And then we've got like the more character-based comedy, which I think that dry kind of comedy, just what the characters are doing to achieve what they want, I usually find that to be my favorite. Do you
remember the tall guy, Al? That you could never see his head?
Yes.
But they'd be like, Al, you've got something on your face. And like a whole banana would fall.
down.
Or
So
he
good.
clearly had like long hair at one point. And they were like, go get a haircut, Al. Like, okay.
Yeah, and I love those two. It's just like, this will be funny. There's one tall guy.
Yeah.
He's
Just a
always
goofy
there.
They got so much on the police squad. They got so much mileage out of that guy. He was in every episode.
Really?
Yeah, at least that character.
Police Squad was like super formulaic, like you're talking
Yeah.
about those procedurals. It was like
Yeah.
the same format every episode, but like just worked every time.
Yeah, and then so one of the things they did in Police Squad, which was so funny, is that they always solved the case and then freeze framed
Yes.
Yeah.
as the credits went up, but they were just holding still, and there was some person who would like
Yeah.
walk in and not realize, and then oh shoot, I've got to hold still, or like they're pouring water. And
Yeah. I can't get enough of that as a bit specifically in
Yeah.
itself,
Yeah.
of the pretending to freeze frame.
Yeah, I watched the whole credits every time.
I
was
love
just
it.
like, oh, it's great. Now his papers are falling out of the folder. Like his cup's overflowing.
Gravity is not your friend in the fake freeze frame. I also really like that there's a certain category of dirty joke, right?
Yeah.
That I think the Naked Gun gets right in a way that Airplane did not.
a little, yeah.
Like, Airplane was sort of too... what's the word? Airplane was kind of too, like, right on the nose with the dirty
Yeah.
jokes.
Oh, sure, yeah.
So, like, I didn't let my kids watch Airplane.
Kids would go like, what's that word?
What does that mean? They'd be
Yeah.
like, 1 second, Mom.
Yeah.
What's happening right in there?
Because again, I feel like it's the difference between the world and the writers adding in the dirtiness,
Right.
versus the characters interacting with each other,
And saying something-
it comes out of them.
Dirty.
It comes out of their behavior.
And even the stuff that is like kind of overtly dirty happens in such a ridiculous way that it's not like I watched this movie with my 9-year-old son and he thought it was hilarious. And he, like, a lot of the dirty stuff that makes me cringe, I'm like, no. I specifically can remember
Yeah.
being 9 and
Yeah.
watching this and just going, I know that's dirty.
Oh, yeah.
But I don't know why
Yeah.
it's dirty. Like when they're wearing the full body condoms.
Yes. I never understood
Yeah.
that.
No, me neither.
Yeah.
I was
was just
specifically
like, all
like,
right.
I know that's dirty and I'm not supposed to ask, and that's something that's naughty, but I don't know what or
Yeah.
why. And, the beaver joke, and specifically, like, all the sort of...
I was surprised by like the concrete dildo.
Oh,
I totally
yes.
forgotten that one.
That I think
Whoa.
was not in. I must have watched it on TV a lot as a kid.
oh yeah,
I think
uh-huh.
me,
And when
I
I
think
saw
me
it,
me too.
probably.
Like when he's like set like Ludwig's apartment or his office
So,
on
yeah.
fire in one of the most hilarious scenes of all time. He ends up like stabbing that expensive fish
Yes.
with the pen. He's like, it's only impervious to everything but water, and he throws it in the fish tank instantly. And, like,
Yeah.
and then he has to like dive out while the piano's playing that old timey music. And
Yep.
there's just all the statues with just concrete penises, and he's
Yes.
like trying to shuffle past them.
Yeah, there's a lot more. Just again, just the building of gags. They're taking a gag and they're developing it and they're building it.
But yeah, like, even like all that, I think he goes a whole scene where he's got like a concrete dick in his hand, and it's like
Yeah.
it's still not
Yeah.
dirty in the gross way.
Yeah,
It's dirty in that way that's fun when you're a kid to be like,
Yeah,
that's a
right.
penis.
Or at the end
Giggle,
of that,
giggle.
like
Yeah.
he ends up like bursting into a strange woman's.
Yeah, as she's
home.
And, like,
yeah, so he's
Holding a
climbing
concrete
outside her window, trying to escape from the fire he accidentally created. For safety, he holds onto this statue, and he happens to grab onto a male phallus, which breaks right off.
Yeah.
And then he staggers into a woman who's undressing, and he's staggering around dazed, and he's holding this giant penis, this concrete penis.
And he grabs her boobs, right?
Yes,
He
because
did
it was
before.
alternating
Isn't it-
men and women in the statues.
So it's like boobs, and then he's trying to
Yeah.
not touch the boobs, and that's when
I
he
think
grabs
every
the
Naked
dick.
Gun had a scene where like he was at the grocery store, just like without looking, feeling for cantaloupes or.
But it doesn't feel icky either, because he's not being icky. Like
Right.
he's being
He's
completely inept.
clueless.
Yeah.
And again, he's playing it so straight, and he's playing it so earnest. So when he screws up, it feels even more hilarious because of this context.
And I think that's you know, there's so much fretting these days about like how do we get away with that joke? Well, how about like this?
Oh, yeah.
How about like
Yeah.
this? Just have like a
Yeah.
noble, dirty heart,
It's
and you'll be
innocent
fine.
enough. No one's getting
Yeah.
hurt here.
Yeah.
And when he realizes he makes a mistake, he's embarrassed.
Yep.
Yeah, I think one of the important things to comedy is having characters with dignity.
Yeah.
You know, I think that's like John Cleese in like A Fish Called Wanda. Like you had these bigger characters, and then you had to have like a normal character who can get embarrassed and who can like fret about the normal stuff that we would.
Yeah, that's like the humanity of all of it that I
Yeah.
think makes comedy great. Is like it's okay to
'Cause
make
it-
mistakes and just learn from that.
Absolutely,
And even
'cause
like Priscilla Presley, not a good actor,
Yeah.
but she's so
earnest.
earnest and sweet.
Yeah,
Yeah.
she's just wholesome.
Yeah. And
I
you're just
assumed it
rooting
was-
for her.
I assumed that was Elvis's daughter, like until I was about 25.
Oh.
Then I found out what Elvis really was. It's like, oh wow, that's not what I expected.
Yeah. But I thought she was great. And
Yeah.
and her performance was great. And she was just like this sweet
Yeah, yeah.
sweet lady. Yeah. And I
Really sweet lady.
You know,
Such a
you
sweet
remember when
lady.
she Frank came home and his door was ajar and he like has to clear the apartment. He's doing backflips and shit, and then he goes in there and it's like, okay, so Priscilla Presley has like broken into his home. This whole movie takes place over, I think, like a couple of days.
yes, I did want to talk about
and
that.
it's quite a love story. And she broke into his house and is wearing his clothes and cooking a roast, which takes a very long time. And he's not alarmed in the slightest. I've known this woman for a day.
But their dating montage is I
Yes.
think that's my favorite part because they go through an entire lifetime's worth of relationship
Yeah.
things in a couple of days and like wreak some major havoc as they enjoy themselves. But what a great montage. Like,
Oh, yeah.
what a great way to show us, instead of telling us, these people have just like immediately fallen in love and they've done all the things that you do.
Yeah, by lunch.
and that's the end of the bit too. Is she's
Yeah.
like, "Oh, that today has just been wonderful."
Yeah.
Wait, what?
Well, and her whole thing was Vincent Ludwig, the villain. You know, he was basically like, "Why don't you? This guy likes you. Frank likes you. Why don't you go date that guy and get information? Because I know that I'm trying to murder the queen."
Yep.
You know, that's like a work thing. She's like, "Go seduce this guy."
Yep.
In the most innocent, charming way. And I never
Yeah.
even picked up on that as a kid. Like as
Yeah.
an adult, those were my 2019 eyes. I was like, "What a sinister character this Vincent Ludwig
But
was."
because it seems like he's like, "Why don't you go hang out with that guy? He seems nice."
Yeah, and she's
Yeah.
like his secretary or something.
Yeah, and
Yeah,
Ricardo-
she's like his assistant.
Ricardo Montalban, you just get a sense that he plays everything so seriously, and so he's perfect for this.
Yeah, so he's in Spy Kids.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I've seen all the Spy Kids movies. He's in most of them, and yeah, he plays that really serious too.
yeah. He and which again goes back to the dignity. If like the whole plot, even though it's totally ridiculous and stupid, he plays it completely straight and serious. And so whenever there's any bumps in the road, again, when there's things that happen that upset him, it feels real.
Yeah.
Within context, and it's more funny that way.
Yeah. And my mind keeps flashing to the chalk outline in the water.
Yeah,
Which is
yeah.
also just like, they're,
Yeah.
they're so sad and you just see it floating on the water and it's so serious. They're like, yes, this is the crime scene. This is where I
Yeah,
went
no one
in.
ever
like,
acknowledges the
nope.
absurdity.
Which is terrific. But there was something that definitely bothered me. So like in Ricardo Montalban's office, he has like all these like expensive, really fancy things, and he has this giant painting, which is a specific painting. Do you know the one I'm talking about?
No, I don't think I...
It's called Blue Boy,
Yeah?
and it's like a little like foppish boy who's wearing a blue outfit. It's the outfit. It's like in Django Unchained, when he picks out his own outfit and he's like,
Yeah.
that's what that's called, right? Django Unchained?
Yes.
Am I saying that right?
Correct.
Okay. It felt wrong. And he picks out his own outfit. It's like Blue Boy's outfit.
Yeah.
Do you know what I'm talking about now? Kind of? No?
No, actually, I'm going to have to go look for this. This might have been something I've
you know
overlooked
what
in
I'm
my
talking
quarterly
about? Yes.
viewing.
Okay. So that painting specifically has a companion piece, which is a young lady who wears pink. So they're Pinky and Blue Boy.
Yeah.
And I have like a little bit of like a Catcher in the Rye obsession with those paintings. So whenever I
Okay.
see them, I buy them.
Yeah.
And so in my dining room, I have like 8 Pinkies and Blue Boys.
Okay.
in sort of a crazy
Wall
way.
to wall, yeah.
But it did bother me that no pinky was in evidence in that office, because you're going to have one, you're going to have the other.
Maybe that
They're
was
expensive.
like a statement they were making.
Well,
Like,
was
this
it the
guy's a
original?
Clearly he's evil because he doesn't know, he didn't get the other piece that goes with it.
Blink, blink.
jerk. You know, would you like to
We
talk a
didn't-
little more about the
we didn't talk
the
at
dead
all.
fish scene? Like, that
Always.
truly is like the best physical comedy.
We didn't talk at all about the actual plot of the movie, which
Yeah.
is
Oh, yeah.
what
So-
we actually usually do. Like,
Let's begin, shall we?
so Frank Drebin is
So one of the few scenes that doesn't work for me is like literally the very open, and it feels like it's almost kind of something that they realized they needed to add.
Yeah.
At the beginning.
all of the stuff with Norberg.
No,
With the
stuff
terrorists,
with
like
the
the preface,
terrorists.
yeah.
Do you remember?
Oh shoot,
They
you're
establish Frank as like
It has
he's
nothing to do with
infiltrating
everything
these terrorist
else.
organizations,
You're right,
and he shoots bad guys.
And,
that's
and,
his deal.
and it's way
It's the
more
bad guy board
slapsticky than
beating.
anything else. Yeah.
Oh yeah, he like drops down at one point and just like punching bags a guy's balls, like
It beats up all the prominent communists and dictators.
wipe
of
the
the
spot off
80s.
Gorbachev's head.
right. Yes, that part did feel like a sketch. That part felt
Yeah.
like a sketch that sort of got tacked on.
Yeah, it didn't really feel like
I think
the
that's why I
movie
forgot about
necessarily,
it.
but very fun. Like a fun 5 minutes.
I think my interpretation of that was that it was always like a dream he was having or something, like
Yeah, I never really attached it to the movie.
to like the reality
I
of
hadn't
the
seen
movie.
it.
You
But, yeah.
forget it after a while.
yeah.
Because then the next thing that happened is the Norberg stuff, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, and then
Him on the
goes
boat.
the opening
Yeah.
credits with the siren, like,
Siren that
driving
drives through everything,
Right.
which
And
is
then
a
Norberg on
direct
the-
Blues
on the boat.
Brothers correlation.
Great movie.
Was it? Yeah, so like all the Norberg stuff is like O.J. Simpson has discovered a drug smuggling ring.
Yeah, on the docks.
That's the B story. But he's trying to like clear his partner friend's name.
So that's what connects Vincent Ludwig into it, because Ludwig owns the docks that the smuggling operation are happening on.
Okay.
And Norberg's investigating that. And that's when he kicks in the door and does like the comical like
Cake in the face.
cake in the face, hand on the window that falls, and he gets shot basically for like uncovering the thing. And then that's when Frank gets in, is like, oh, my partner got shot. And then he starts to investigate, and he goes to talk to Ludwig because Ludwig's the owner of the docks. So
And
it's
that's
just
when
the
the
first place to
whole
start,
fish
and
scene
that's when
happens.
everything comes in.
Okay, it's good that you're here because
Oh yeah, I'm telling you.
stumbling through.
I study this movie like my life depends on it. I modeled every decision I've made after
Excellent.
Frank Drebin.
Fantastic. But then there's the plot to assassinate the queen
Right.
while she's visiting using mind control watches,
Yeah, hypnotism and yeah.
hypnotism through.
The best assassin is
Watches.
someone who doesn't know they're an assassin.
I mean, I think
That's
that's,
true. And you don't have to pay them.
Yeah, and then when they get busted, you're like not sad about it. And so he uncovers the drugs. He like solves the drug smuggling problem and saves the queen.
Yeah, and I think that the assassin thing was like Ludwig's just a scummy dude and happens to be doing two horrific things. And like they were investigating the drugs and it led them to Ludwig, and then
He's just killing the queen for money.
uncovered the bigger plot that Ludwig had going on. I think
Yeah.
he is,
Right.
yeah. I think he's just as simple as that, yeah.
But like really,
Someone was hiring him to kill the queen.
right?
Yeah.
But what happens if
That's
you kill
right,
the
yeah.
queen? Nothing, right? Nothing.
Well, I'm sure people get sad. I mean, it sends a message to someone, I guess.
We need people.
I've never
to be
killed a queen
right. It's terrorism, really. It's to.
It is,
it's
but
to
like
create-
you almost couldn't pick someone less impactful.
Well,
to
I
kill.
mean, when
I'm
you're
sorry,
talking like
I love
literal,
Queen
like
Elizabeth.
Yeah,
I
nothing
don't want
against
anything
the
bad
we're
to
queen.
talking
happen.
about actual like politics and policy,
Right.
But in terms of like a figurehead, it's like if someone shot Elvis, you know.
Right, that's what I mean. A small faction of people would be like, no, not Elvis, but everyone else would be like, we're still good to just keep.
Yeah,
Just
we still have
keep-
the records, right?
We're still fine, right?
It would be a kerfuffle. It would be a huge kerfuffle.
I mean, they'd have to get the crowns out and dust those off, and
We're talking about literal consequences. I'm talking about the heart and mind and soul.
yes, but that's all that would be affected: hearts and minds and souls.
Well, sure. What is terrorism,
Yeah,
right?
and what is that really?
is that really
How important are hearts, minds,
Not
souls?
gonna affect the day to day,
Right.
like
People just would lose their
happenings.
heart, mind, and soul. they'd still go to work.
But the mail would still be delivered.
Yeah, right.
Like you'd still...
We could still get
Yes,
sandwiches.
that is
at 1 a.m.
literally true.
Yeah, exactly. Some sandwich places would stay open and some would close.
Some would probably stay open later in honor of the Queen.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Like, hey, we know you need a sandwich right now.
Yeah.
Well, you clearly
Come
don't
get it.
understand the value of terrorism.
I guess not. But yeah, they save the Queen, and I like that the Queen is like funny, but she's also kind of like a little bit of a badass.
Yeah. Really
Yeah,
well
she
played.
throws that screwball to open up from the stands too. I was like, what a power play! You know, I'm not going to the mount. I'll throw it from here.
She's got all that good wrist practice.
Yeah.
On her
Yeah.
weird backward Queen wave. That really it takes a lot of forearm strength.
Yeah, and she got tackled by Frank Drebin at that news conference too. She handled that pretty well.
She's into sports. She can take a tackle. She can throw a pitch.
Like Leslie Nielsen in general, everything, those Naked Gun movies, just their relentless silliness, and like there are so many jokes. Like I really didn't even know that's what I was doing, but I was essentially studying them like from childhood on, to where it was like even the inflection, like the little subtle stuff, like Frank, like you were talking about when he would like screw up and like feel shame or something like that. You know, he'd be like, cigarette, and then they just look at him like, yes, I know. And his response is, you know, he takes a second. He just has this innocence. He'll take a beat. Well, you know, like, I just loved like all the subtleties that were still so hilarious to me. And so, you know, I don't know. I pick up mannerisms and I don't know. Started talking like Frank Drebin, and I don't know that my mom was like a huge fan of that, but like very literal.
So I made there was a period in my life where I was kind of obsessed with this movie and then kind of made my own like knockoff movie
Oh yes,
called Joe Spade Ace Detective.
Does footage still exist?
It
does, doesn't
it
it?
does.
Oh.
It's on VHS. It's not on the internet. But
Could it be though?
it shall not be.
I must know what
it
Joe
has
Spade's
all
all about.
copyrighted music.
Oh.
That's the problem with those old movies. Is you put a bunch of. Anyways, so
We didn't know we weren't supposed to.
I know
That's the fun part.
We
though.
just didn't
People know these songs.
We were children. Yeah, so it was like a half hour, 25-minute like epic that I did like, you know, early high school.
Wow, you made a 25-minute film when you were in high school?
It might have
That's
even
impressive.
been 30. Yeah. It was like an ensemble piece, but it was basically solving like. But so I played Joe Spade myself, and not entirely like Frank Drebin, but it was in that kind of style, that vein, that ensemble. You know, kind of a crime to be solved, going to different people and interviewing them and trying to put the clues together and just being clueless.
I love it.
So
That's what I would cast
Yeah.
you as, some sort of detective.
Clueless detective.
Some sort of clueless detective, yeah. But who like really thought he was doing a good job.
yeah, so that was one of those movies that I remember showing to like my first audience that I didn't know the audience, and like getting a positive reaction out of it. And it was just like fellow students like in high school. And just kind of being kind of a light switch in me, like, oh my god, like other people can like my stuff, like that's weird, you know? Oh, that feels so good. And then we even shot a sequel, but it was so overblown. It was like so out of control. Like
Yeah,
it just,
that's
it
what
just,
sequels are
it
supposed
just-
to
it
be.
just- it
Joe
just-
Spade gets a sequel. There's a
Right.
budget, you know.
It flew. We tried to top ourselves too much that we made something that couldn't be finished. It was just too much. So I've got like hours of footage.
It's your
from that.
unfinished opus.
Exactly. Yeah, and it's for the best.
I love that. Well, but I can sort of see like the bones of that character in a lot of the characters that you write, right? Like that sort of confident incompetence of
Yeah.
of Captain Sunstrike. Like it's there. Yeah, I love it. I felt like I watched this movie a lot when I was a kid, but for some reason I always felt like, ooh, like I like that, but it's not for me. Like I don't think I could
The
do.
Naked Gun?
And I like watching it, but I don't think I could do that style of comedy. Like I think the comedy that I write would all end up being like more in the like very serious, like if you're
Oh,
listening
yeah,
to
yeah,
the
yeah.
noir dialogue, then you'll notice that I'm saying some pretty weird things
Yeah,
right now.
Yeah.
but not necessarily like I don't think I think in terms of like sight gags.
Oh, I think almost exclusively. Like, my brain is very similar to a cartoon. Like, in fact, in the cartoons, when they'll, like, have the thought bubble and it's, like, older cartoons, like, dancing around a pole or something.
Yeah.
Like, that's what it's like for me
That's what
all the time. Yeah, and I think my mom was just, like, super frustrated with these movies influencing me with just a general lack of taking things seriously.
Yeah.
For my entire
But
life.
acting really serious.
Oh yeah, I would
but
just do the
taking nothing
goofiest
seriously.
thing, and it was like any situation. Like, my mom used to teach a science based field trip, basically, like into middle school kids. About the time that I was in middle school, and so she had this big inflatable planetarium, and she would teach us
What?
about the constellations.
That's
and
rad.
She worked, yeah, it was such a cool thing. And I got to go to it, and then I was like, well, this is my mom, and I don't take stuff serious anyway. I've been thrown out of a lot of classrooms at this point. and so I just started making a bunch of jokes about Uranus and asking questions about it. And so, I didn't even necessarily tell anyone that was my mom. I was just...
Nice.
But, so that's kind of was like me as a kid, and I think it directly comes from, the just relentless watching of The Naked Gun.
Yeah, probably. You imprinted your brain.
Yeah, you need to have, like, a physical comedy... I don't know, like, I do a lot of pie stuff. Like, I'm a big fan of, like, I made a sketch a couple years back, and it was just, I had this big, like, opus of, like, and then you'll hit a pie in his face, and then he'll hit you with a pie, and we just covered this country club in pie.
Oh.
Like,
Well, the country club is where you want to do
just the best.
most of your pie work.
I was, very surprised. The golf pro was on board. We pied the golf pro.
Nice.
and it's like, just tore the place up, but it was great. I carry rubber chicken around more than you would guess at 35 years
I
old.
mean, I'm not here to judge.
It's I don't know, just it's fun to just
We'll
the
only judge you
lightheartedness.
when you leave.
Yeah, you're welcome to. I know people do it, but I have a good time.
Wonderful. Well, that's so great. Are you going to give it a 10, like on a scale of 1 to 10? So 1...
Being Young Guns. No,
I
think like
And 10 being
I
Young Guns
didn't.
too.
I didn't give it a 1. It was pretty low.
I think you might have given it a 1.
I think it was like a 2 or 3.
Okay. So, like, Young Guns being the worst, and
How many Young Guns would you?
how many Young Guns? I was usually trying to think of something, like, physical from the movie, like on a scale of 1
Concrete dildos.
to 10 concrete dildos. 1 concrete dildo to 10 concrete boobs. On that scale.
Yeah.
How many would you
It's
handle?
not even clear which is good or bad, so I would just give it 10
All
of each.
good, yeah. Even numbers are boobs, odd numbers are penises.
Yeah.
What do you think? Are you
Well-
one of those there is no such thing as a 10 people?
Oh, absolutely not. This movie, I would give 10 tens to this movie.
10 tens.
That's not an option.
Yeah. Then I'll give as many tens as I'm allowed to give.
Are there other movies that you would give the same amount of credit to? Also 10s in your...
Well, as far as formative years, the stuff that I was way into was, like The Naked Gun. Huge fan of Ace Ventura.
Of course.
And
That's also another of my son's favorites.
yeah, the
So
fantastic-
I'm doing the right
just
thing, guys.
all of the and I loved like Jim Carrey's like a lot more rubbery. Like
Yeah.
it was just kind of like stiff in The Naked Gun, but like
He's the
opposite
opposite.
approaches,
Like,
yeah.
Jim Carrey is the opposite because he is the physical.
Yeah.
Like,
Oh,
his
yeah.
body is the comedy.
yeah,
And
you
as
couldn't
opposed to,
duplicate
like-
it.
yeah.
But you could say a joke from The Naked Gun and people would laugh.
Right.
But yeah, those were probably the two most influential movies. I think I
Okay,
would give
good.
both 10,
All right.
and the sequels. I'll give all the sequels 10s.
Really all?
And the 33 and a third is the one that shouldn't get a 10 in my
Right.
opinion.
Uh-huh.
But that scene at the Oscars at the end where he impersonates Phil Donahue and they do the
Oh my
dancing
God, Phil
montage.
Donahue, yes.
And then he ends up he gets dizzy and he falls into the orchestra and he's stuck in a tuba. And they're James Earl Jones comes out.
Yep.
And they're like, what the hell is that? He's like, that looks like Phil Donahue throwing up in a tuba. People don't even acknowledge. Like, one of the best jokes in The Naked Gun is at the end when Frank saves the day and he pulls off his umpire's mask, and he had impersonated the opera singer that did the national anthem.
Yes.
And then immediately went
Enrico
back and had to get
Palazzo.
back on the field and had to impersonate the umpire. And then he starts doing all this crazy shit as an umpire. Reveals himself, and everyone's like, hey, it's Frank Drebin. And the guy stands up in the crowd. It's Enrico Palazzo. I just love it.
I mean, that's pretty great. I feel like 33 and a third is possibly more dated, like in a way
Yeah,
that wouldn't hold
yeah.
up as
Yeah.
well. The classicness of this one doesn't feel like it's just an 80s movie.
Yeah.
If anything, it's again pulling from like those cop shows of the
Yeah.
70s. You know, it's always tough when it's movies that have a series, like there's a bunch of them, because you invariably feel about the first one as you eventually feel about the whole series,
Right.
Because I felt like the series got a little out of control especially by 33 and a third,
Yeah.
and so unfortunately that kind of like taints the other stuff, which is why I was so pleasantly surprised coming back to the first one.
Yeah, it doesn't have, like you mentioned before, the pop culture references. 33 and a third was kind of loaded up, like a couple
Really
of Jurassic
was.
Park spoofs, like
Yeah.
within that same movie.
Which is one of those things that that spoof movies do so much, or did so much because they're not really that popular before, is just making specific movie references.
Right.
And this doesn't really.
They're
Yeah.
genre references.
Yeah, they're making reference to like the cop film noir,
To a whole category of things. So you're not like
which is way more
really
evergreen
narrowing it
than
down.
like.
Absolutely.
So it's like the bane of spoofs would just kind of run into the ground with like Meet the Spartans and like it's like
Oh, yeah.
all these other things to where they become reference movies. Like,
Yeah.
oh look, it's Johnny Depp as a pirate.
Mm-hmm.
Oh look, they're not really making a joke. They're just making these references
Yeah,
and
yeah.
these terrible, horrible, like random
Right.
non sequitur gags.
But I think there is a way to do that right too, which like my example would be UHF, which is almost entirely referential to other things.
Weird Al.
But Weird Al has this like magic where you don't, even if you don't know what the reference is, he puts you in a context where you understand the joke.
Yeah,
Even if you
right.
don't, if you've never seen
like
that,
Conan
I
the
want my-
Librarian.
Exactly. You get it, even if you don't know what Conan is, or the whole music video about the Beverly Hillbillies. You can enjoy that and have no idea that it is a reference to
Yeah.
a song in
Yeah.
a video that was from that era.
Weird Al also
Yeah.
hugely influential when I was a child.
Yes.
That's-
Who appears
good.
in The Naked Gun.
Yes.
oh, and he does.
He's in all three of them.
Yeah, and he did the theme song for Spy Hard, which was
Oh,
like
my God,
the
yes.
after the Naked Gun series. It was much more like pop culture reference.
Yeah.
But I love Spy Hard, even though it's so dated.
Oh yeah.
Because it's like Leslie Nielsen and Weird Al. I'm like, they must have made this movie specifically for me. This
Yes. It's just for you. It's
Yeah.
only for you. You're the only one who's seen it.
everyone else can watch it, but I feel like
They are allowed.
they got in my head somehow.
Yeah.
Right.
Oh, Weird Al's another of Rocket's favorites, so someday he'll run comedy. I mean, that was a major scene happening. So somebody's just had a big breakthrough out front.
The Swedish listeners are out front.
Yes.
They're
Okay,
breaking
so
the
we got
doors
a
down.
5-star.
what do you think? What do you think rating
So
wise
I'm gonna give it. My gut says a 7, which
for the movie that you made your first?
Yeah,
TV
would Joe
lane.
Look,
Spade give it a 7?
Joe Spade would give it an 8. Yeah, no, there's definitely some stuff that doesn't. 7 is still a positive,
Right.
You know? So there's a lot that still holds up. There's, but again, they throw so much spaghetti at the wall, not everything hits. But you know, I had a totally great experience revisiting this movie, but
Yeah.
my gut says 7.
Okay, I think that's fair.
It's been too long, but my heart is more in the Police Squad TV show.
Okay.
Like that leans in even harder. Like, but I haven't seen that in 20 years. So but yet I
maybe.
still remember like some of these bits and things like that. So maybe that doesn't hold up as well
Oh
as,
no,
as the
I have
feature.
a quarterly viewing of the entire series. It's
Do
only
you,
6
do you watch them
episodes.
together, the Police Squad, then Naked Gun,
One
or do
and
you
the other?
alternate?
I try to space them out, honestly, so there's like an equal dose of Frank Drebin.
Oh, that's good.
And how do the people in your life feel about this?
Well, my
Are
wife's,
they,
you know...
are they happy about it?
They've
She's
come
very
to terms.
understanding, slash
She-
at work sometimes.
Yeah.
So-
She's like, "Oh, is this what's happening?
Yeah, yeah.
All right, I'm gonna go out. I'll be back in 2 hours." I think that I am gonna go just a slightly higher, Nathan, and I think I'm gonna give it an 8 because I definitely really enjoyed watching it. I giggled and laughed out loud, which sometimes when you watch a comedy that you've seen so many times, you would enjoy it, but
Yeah,
you don't
yeah.
laugh out loud.
Yeah.
Like you don't audibly giggle. but I definitely got some chuckles out of this one. So I'll give it an 8, maybe an 8.5. I'm not going to land on either. I'll be fluid about my rating. And so what about a deep cut recommendation?
Yeah. Well, I already mentioned Spy Hard a little bit, which would be
Okay.
a good deep cut if you're a big fan. But because it's later, I'll say I'll just go Zucker Brothers, and Leslie Nielsen's not in it. But Val Kilmer used to be very funny in the mid-'80s.
He did used to be,
right?
didn't he?
And he kind of grew out of that. But
Didn't we remember that, you guys?
yeah. And so I would say my deep cut is Top Secret,
Love it.
which is also Zucker Brothers and just as goofy. And they really focused a lot in that one. It's actually like they're spoofing Elvis films and I think spy movies is what that one really was. And they did a lot of really interesting like filming stuff. Like they filmed a scene in reverse that just had a bunch of cool looking stuff. There's an underwater fight scene in it that's like super fun to watch. And they had a nice sight gag where they were trying to infiltrate this evil East German base, and they had to dress up like a cow.
Who else is in that? Who are the other?
That's a good question. Val
I can
Kilmer
picture
and
the cover of the box of the VHS.
there really
Yeah.
wasn't another
but
big name that I can
can't
recall.
see the faces. Yeah, 80s Val Kilmer was really something special. Like Real Genius is such a
Yes,
good movie.
I love that movie.
He was so charming at one time.
Yeah, yeah.
At one time, right? That like tombstone
Yeah,
version of Val
yeah.
Kilmer
The Ghost
is
in the Darkness came out.
in there somewhere.
guy's a
right?
killer.
Yeah. What about you, Nathan?
So I mean, so the obvious one is Police Squad. Is to track down Police Squad. I don't know if it's where it's available on, if it's on any streaming or whatever. But that's what you should actually go to. But it's like the cheap deep cut. But if you really wanted to go deeper into the Naked Gun, go back to the source material, the 6 episodes that they made, that this is kind of being adapted from.
Okay.
But if I had to be put in a corner to come up with something new,
Sam the detective story.
Joe
that
Spade,
Nate-
Ace
Joe
the Dick-
Spade.
is bug me for the VHS of Joe Spade.
I'm going to. We're going to watch
Please
that.
let me know because I want to see that
Yes.
so bad.
We're going to have a party and we're going to watch that.
I would. So, have you ever heard of Garth Marenghi's Dark Place?
Yes.
I would go with that.
But I possibly only heard of it because you've mentioned it, so please tell us what
Yeah,
it is.
what is that one?
So I would say in no way is similar to the Naked Gun, except
Then
in
it's
the
the
sense
perfect
that,
deep cut.
Yeah,
that
it's
it's
so deep.
like, it's almost kind of like Police Squad, to where it's in its alternate universe, and it's almost kind of like a spoof of a TV show, but with kind of dumb, like dumb characters, but smart people who are making it. And so it's a British series, only like 6 episodes, just like Police Squad. You can find it all on YouTube, and it's some of these brilliant minds of like from the IT crowd, and like Stephen Merchant is in an episode. But the whole idea is that it's kind of like a Stephen King author who did a vanity series that was never released and is finally releasing it. And it was done in the 80s, and now he's bringing it to everyone, and so they can see it. But the whole thing is kind of like a wish is like a supernatural hospital. It's like a hospital that deals with these supernatural problems. But the whole thing is a really poorly written series interspersed with interviews from the cast and crew looking back on the experience. But the whole thing is like a wish fulfillment. Like the main guy is always so brilliant, and everyone has to acknowledge his brilliance.
Love it. Okay.
So Garth Marenghi's Dark Place on YouTube.
Love it. All right. So I'm going to do that thing where I tell you all the things I was thinking I was going to recommend that I'm not going to recommend. When we did Airplane, I recommended Angie Tribeca. Have you seen it?
No, but I've heard of it.
You should see it.
Yeah?
It's really good. And it is
Leslie
basically... it's Rashida Jones.
Okay, yeah.
And it's produced and created by Steve Carell and his wife, Nancy Wall.
Yeah, Nancy Walls.
Yeah. And so it is this, but modern.
Okay.
Yeah, and I think I really love it because, like, the Frank Drebin character gets to be a woman, and, like,
Yeah,
there's all this
yeah.
funny stuff where she has a baby, but she's in a coma, and she's, like, doesn't know if it's hers. She's all like, I'm not sure that that's my baby, and all this stuff. But I've already recommended that. I was going to recommend just Weird Al.
Yeah, in general.
Just in general,
Yeah.
Go back and revisit some Weird Al.
Yeah.
It also holds up.
It does.
And even the stuff that doesn't hold up is still okay. So there's some songs where you're just like, ooh, are we okay with this being a parody still? With one exception, possibly, which is the, like, 11-minute long parody of, like, Trapped in a Closet. That's like Trapped in a Drive-Thru or something like that.
Really? No.
Avoid it.
Really?
It's,
Okay.
It hurts.
Because Trapped in a Closet took a while to get through. It's the same
The
deal.
Weird Al parody of it is equally, it's almost like he was like, no, I can do this. No, I can do this.
And
I got
it'll be
this. I
as
got this."
uncomfortable as the original.
So uncomfortable, yeah. No good. And then I was like, I'm going to recommend Cool Hand Luke because of George Kennedy. And,
Oh,
That's a cool movie, yeah.
It is
Yeah.
that's a really good movie. But now, because of what you said, I think I'm going to recommend What We Do in the Shadows, which is
Oh, the vampire movie?
The vampire
yes,
movie.
I've seen that.
which is also a series on either FX or Sci-Fi, but now it's all on Hulu.
Yeah, oh, okay.
And I think it's the same brand of comedy, but like a little bit more. It's just more modern, right? But there are sight gags and there are like visual things that are funny about it. But it's also just like these people take their shit so seriously.
Yeah.
That's what makes it funny, is because they are really like in this
Yeah.
moment, and you get to stand on the other side of the camera and just be like, "You're silly."
It is funny.
It's
yeah.
great,
I
yeah.
find what's funny. You don't tell me what's
don't
funny.
tell me.
yeah.
I find you ridiculous.
Yeah. This is absurd and you know it.
Yes, but you find you cool. Okay, that's all the things. And NCT is going to be there on the Saturday, which is the
21st?
21st. We're doing a kids workshop in the daytime at 11, an adult workshop at 4, and then we're participating in the sketch and improv showcase,
Yep.
which you put together.
Yeah. That kind of, yeah, I guess I'm in charge of the Fire Creek Coffee Company. So, yeah, they've got a nice stage in there and a sound booth. And, yeah, we're bringing in sketch and improv groups. And it's always, like, it's one of my favorite things to do. I just really love being able to bring in the sketch and improv and kind of let everybody hang out together. And we try to bring in people that aren't from the same places so they can start to talk and collaborate and go outside of Big Pine and keep doing cool stuff. And
Working together.
yeah, it's always so fun. And Fire Creek's such a neat venue. It's like really quaint and intimate, and the lighting's good and the sound's good, and yeah, I'm super excited for it this year. I'm glad that
Me
you're coming
too.
up.
I'm
Yeah.
also very
it'll be real
excited.
good.
And then we are doing Most Excellent 80s Movie Podcast on Sunday at 4
On the 22nd.
at the Blends.
That Blends, it's a wine bar, yeah, and that's a really cool place too. They have a really neat back patio, and they'll make custom wine for you. You can go in there and just say like,
I want
I'd like to
custom
try
wine."
some stuff, and can you blend something up for me?
Load me up.
Yeah, it's super.
Get some grapes. Do
Yeah.
some things to them.
Yeah, it's really cool.
Begin fermenting.
Yes. And so the only thing that's different from this week to last week is that our guest has changed. We were going to have Mary Upchurch, who's really awesome. She's still going to be at the festival, but she's hosting something at the same time as our podcast. So we're going to have Tony Tripoli instead, who's really awesome.
Yeah,
Very,
yeah,
very,
he's
very
great.
funny.
He's executive producer for Joan Rivers' show on
Yeah.
So yeah,
And
he's
worked with
awesome
Joan
dude.
Rivers a lot. So
Yeah.
like, what?
He's a really funny dude. Yeah.
Very funny. He was one of the judges with me at the House of Comedy's Funniest Person with a Day Job. So I got
Oh,
to check him
yeah.
a lot. He's awesome. It's going to be really fun. We're still doing Friday the 13th. Nothing can change that.
Do it. Yeah, that's a good movie.
And is there, where can people find all things Buck Newman to enjoy?
Yeah. Well, right now, the comedy D&D is really kind of my heart and soul. That's what I'm doing the most. And so that's going to be here at NCT. We
It
start
is.
on the 14th. So this Saturday we get to do our first show here.
Yay!
And we're also doing a separate campaign because it's a Dungeons and Dragons themed show. So we're not really playing Dungeons and Dragons, but it's all inspired by it. And so we have campaigns with characters. And so we'll have the NCT campaign, and we're doing the Sixth Sense.
Love it.
And we do that the last Sunday of the month. And then I think here we're, like the third
I think it's
Saturday?
the third-ish
It
Saturday.
kind of varies a little
with
bit. Yeah.
With some wiggles here and there.
Yeah. But that's where I'm at. Yeah, that's
gonna
my
be
big
really
thing
fun.
right now. So, yeah.
Very excited about that. Cool. And of course, like, at NCT is where you can see that. NCTphoenix.com online, and NCT Phoenix, the place in downtown Mesa, Arizona. Nathan, where can everybody find all of your stuff?
SquishyStudios.com. That's where you can see a bunch of our short films. There's links to Voyage Trekkers. That's got its own website, but you can click on it. Squishy
Which
Studios.
would be a solid recommendation if you like The Naked Gun. Like you could watch Voyage Trekkers and see the footprints there. Okay, so thank you for listening. Please be Swedish and give us. Wait, were they Swedish?
Yeah, that's who people
should
from
probably
Sweden, right?
You should exclude that part.
Why?
They give us a 5-star review, and
No,
we
but
never.
I'm thanking
we also
them.
never made a reference to the origin of the
I
Swedish.
did.
things.
I'm leaving all that in.
What, all the beginning
The
stuff?
preamble.
Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely.
But you were kind of slaggish. You kind
No,
of,
I was not at all. That was gentle, good-natured ribbing. Didn't you feel?
It felt good to me, but I'm not Swedish, so it's really not for
I don't
me
know.
to say.
I don't know.
Okay.
I'd do a safe version. But
A
that's
safe
just me.
version?
It's up to you.
It
Ultimately.
is. I edit this
I won't even
podcast.
listen
You won't
to
even
it,
know.
right.
You'll never know. Thank you so much for listening. Like, rate, review, thumbs up. Give us all of the things. Tell a friend. Tell a neighbor. Tell someone.
We really do appreciate the reviews.
Really. And, like, we don't have any reviews from France. So, hey, French people. Give
What
us
up?
Give us a shout out.
The Dutch, they like a good time.
I want to hear from
Yeah.
some Dutch people. I want to hear from all of the different countries.
In America.
All of the different countries in America. Please let us know how you feel. So thanks for listening to the Most Excellent 80s Movies podcast. Please keep our motto in mind. Be excellent to each other. And
I must kill the queen.
party on, dudes!
Party on, dude.
See what I mean? Sometimes it goes on for an hour.
That's cool, though.